everyone. Welcome to our broadcast of today. We're so glad that you chose to join us. Whether you're a regular or you're here for the first time, I got a special word for you. Please stay where you are and get ready. Get ready to be mightily blessed by God. Our broadcast today brings you a very uplifting word. It's about an aspect of who our God is that many know about and many have no idea of. You're going to be blessed just hearing this. Please don't go anywhere while I make our usual announcements. First of all, I would like to invite you again to please check us out on Bishop Itiola's podcast. You can access the podcast by downloading my podcast app on the Google Play Store for those of you who use the Android phone. Or you can listen directly on the Spreaker app, and that can be downloaded on both the Android and the Apple phones. Spreaker is spelled S-P-R-E-A-K-E-R. We invite you to come and join over 50 countries that are represented on that podcast. People have downloaded many episodes, well over 80,000 episodes in the last 2 years. There must be a reason behind that. Give it a try. You will be glad you did. I would like for you to help us share the links also, not only to our podcast, but to our YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter links, to your friends and to your loved ones. God's going to bless them even as He blesses you. Don't forget, we're on television in Guyana, great country of Guyana, RBS TV 13. Every Saturday we're there from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. local time. We're also in 23 Caribbean island countries on Mercy and Truth TV in Jamaica, in the Caribbean islands. We are on there every Saturday from 2:30 to 3:30 local time, and every Wednesday morning at 1:30 a.m. local time too. We're also in Jamaica. We just love Jamaica. On Logic 1 TV, channel 112, 3 times a week, and actually several times a week, they show our prayers that we pray in New York City. Every Thursday and every Friday, we have those prayers, and we send them the recording, which they graciously play many times during the week. You know, I cannot but continue to pray for the owners of those TV stations and for those who work for them, that God will keep you afloat. God will keep you going and going and going and expanding and getting bigger and bigger and bigger. God bless you all. Please don't forget our own radio station, Fresh Waves Radio. It's on the air 24/7. And on that station, you can listen to a variety of programming that will be a blessing to your soul. It has blessed so many people, and it will bless you too. Fresh Waves Radio. You can download the app for both the Android and the Apple phones from their respective app stores. Just type in Fresh Waves Radio. It's free, and you are good to go. Please help us spread the word. I want to remind you also we're on MixLR. You can download that app and just look for Bishop Itiola's podcast, and you'll be ready to go. Don't forget, I'm on Facebook Live every Thursday and every Friday at 7 p.m. New York time. We're going to add more programming soon. We'll let you know that as they materialize. But for now, keep on praying for us and keep on watching us. God will bless you as you do. Let us pray. Father, we thank you for bringing us together today. I pray you give me the anointing to speak and you give your people the anointing to hear. In Jesus' mighty name I pray. Amen and amen. You know what I want to do to you today and for you today and around you today? What I want to do is encourage your faith. Yes. And I want to encourage your faith by saying something that I have discovered over and over again to be the truth. And it simply is this: God has the ability to pick up a nobody and make them to become somebody in front of everybody without consulting anybody. Want me to repeat that? I will. God has the ability to pick up a nobody and make them to become somebody in front of everybody without consulting anybody. It's only about God that such a statement can be made. Only God can do that. He's the only one that has the ability to pick up somebody that is a nobody and make them to become a force to be reckoned with in front of everybody, friends and enemies alike, without consulting anybody, no matter how powerful or influential they may be in the life of the person that he wants to lift up. You know, there's someone in the Bible that God did that to. But not only one person, several people in the Bible. And in our present day, I have seen people, I have known people that God lifted up and made somebody great out of them. There is one in particular that I would like to focus on today. Well, before I focus on him, I would like to read you what Paul the Apostle had to say along these lines in 1 Corinthians chapter 1, verse 25. This is one scripture that has brought me so much hope, faith, and even consolation. For ye see your calling, brethren, Paul the Apostle said, how that not many wise men after the flesh, not many mighty men after the flesh, not many noble men are called. No, but God hath chosen the foolish things of this world to confound the wise. God has chosen the weak things of this world to confound the things that are mighty. The base things of this world and things which are despised hath God chosen, yea, and things which are not, to bring to naught the things that are, that no flesh should glory in his presence. Does that sound like what God does? I'm sure you've known people that are nothing, people that are not reckoned with in the world, people that are regarded as second class, I almost said second class citizens. And yet God takes them, elevates them, and makes somebody out of them without asking permission from anybody. In the final analysis, what Paul was saying is simply that God has the ability, like I said earlier, to pick up a nobody make them to become somebody in front of everybody without consulting with anybody. Such was the case of David. Yes. You remember David? I'm sure you do. That became king in Israel. I'm sure you do. David was a nobody. And God picked him up and made somebody out of him. In front of everybody, his brothers were there and a host of others. And he never consulted anybody when he did it. Look at the scripture in 1 Samuel chapter 16, beginning to read in verse number 6. But the Lord said unto Samuel, look not on his countenance, or on the height of his stature, because I refused him. For the Lord seeth not as man seeth. For man looketh on the outward appearance, but the Lord looketh on the heart. Then Jesse called Abinadab and made him pass before Samuel. And he said, neither hath the Lord chosen this. Then Jesse made Shemaiah to pass by. And he said, neither hath the Lord chosen this. Again, Jesse made 7 of his sons to pass before Samuel. And Samuel said unto Jesse, the Lord hath not chosen this. And Samuel said unto Jesse, are these now here all thy children? And he said, there remaineth yet the youngest, and behold, he keepeth the sheep. And Samuel said unto Jesse, send and fetch him, for we will not sit down till he come hither. And he sent and brought him in. Now he was ruddy and withal of a beautiful countenance, and goodly to look to. And the Lord said, arise, anoint him. This is he. Then Samuel took the horn of oil and anointed him in the midst of all his brethren. And the Spirit of the Lord came upon David from that day forward. So Samuel rose up and went to Ramah. In that story was a nobody named David, picked up by this great God in front of all the audience that was there, and was anointed to become the king without God seeking permission from anybody. This really encourages me that you and I can become great people in the world, and we don't have to hold any allegiance to any human being or thank anybody for becoming what we become, because God can single-handedly take you from where you are to where he wants you to be. I don't know what your prayers are today. I don't know what your desires are. I just want you to know, if you would trust in God, what he did for David, he can do for you. Now, I got a story behind the story. Let me repeat that. I got a story behind the story. If you will understand the story behind this story, it will make you appreciate what I just said better. The background story is a real eye-opener that I believe I need to share with you. How David was propelled from nobody to somebody in front of everybody without consulting nobody. Even Samuel was not consulted. Because if Samuel had been consulted, he would never have mistakenly tried to anoint Eliab. Beautiful story. You know, one of the things I love is reading Jewish stories. Most of them are true, some of them are not true. But these Jewish writings many times have its correlation with the Bible. And this one that I'm going to read to you today will really bless your soul, will help you understand the background story behind how David became who he became. You will be blessed by what I share today. I will read directly from my source because I think it tells the story better than I can and better than you can. You ready to go with me? This is going to bless you. Here I go. David was born into an illustrious family, we are told. And his daddy was Jesse. Jesse served as the head of the Sanhedrin, that is the Supreme Court of the Torah law. And he was one of the most distinguished leaders of his generation. That is Jesse, the father of David. I'm going to be deliberately slow so you can follow me. His mother's name, David's mother's name, we are told, was Nisbet. Nisbet was his mother's name. And David was the youngest in his family, which included 7 other illustrious and charismatic children, brothers indeed. Yet, when David was born, the prominent family greeted his birth with utter contempt and utter derision. Why? You will find out in his own words that this is true. And then I'll explain to you why. Psalm 69. I'll read verse 8 and verse 9. Then I'll read verse 10, verse 11, verse 12, and then I'll jump to verse 21. It will give you an idea of what this is all about. Psalm 69, in verse number 8, David said, I am become a stranger unto my brethren. Why? You'll find out momentarily. And an alien unto my mother's children. Why? You'll find out in a minute. He became a nobody. They looked at him as an alien, born in the same family. But David was looked upon as an alien, and he admitted, he said, I look like an alien unto my brothers. Why? Hold on. You got to stay here with me. For the zeal of thine house hath eaten me up, and the reproaches of them that reproach thee are falling upon me. When I wept and chastened my soul with fasting, that was to my reproach. I made sackcloth to be my garment, and I became a proverb unto them. Did you hear that? They that sit at the gate, they speak against me. That's what David said. And I was the song of the drunkards. You didn't know David went through all this in his youthful days? Yes, he did. Draw nigh unto my soul and redeem it, and deliver me because of my enemies. Thou hast known my reproach and my shame. They reproached him. They put him to shame. And my dishonor, they dishonored him. Mine adversaries are all before thee. They were not dead people. They were blood of his blood, flesh of his flesh, bone of his bone. Reproach has broken my heart, Lord have mercy. And I am full of heaviness. And I looked for some to take pity, but there was none. And for comforters, but I found none. He gave me also gall for my meat, and in my thirst they gave me vinegar to drink. See, applicable to David, but actually in the long run, applicable to Christ. They gave me also gall. You remember Jesus? And in my thirst, they gave me vinegar to drink. David, believe it or not, David was not permitted to eat with the rest of his family when he was growing up. He was assigned to a separate table in the corner. He was a nobody, but he became a somebody. I don't know what your youthful days are. They're going to come and bow down before you after God elevates you. But let me go on with my story. He was given the task of a shepherd boy because they were hoping that some wild beast will come and kill him in the wilderness while he was performing his duties. So for this reason, they sent him to pasture in dangerous areas that are full of lions and that are full of bears. You know he had encounter with bears and lions because he later tells us that when the bear came and when the lion came, he killed them all off. That was where he did his daily duties. Not because he chose to, but that's where they sent him. You say, why? Why did they look at David and say nobody? Because you and I look at David as somebody, the king in Israel, the psalmist of God. But before all that, before he became a somebody, here is his story. I'm telling you this story to let you know that no matter what you are and who you are and what your situation is, God can transform your story. But there was one individual, one person, throughout the time David was growing up in his youthful days, and that was his mother. She saw the unjustifications, the wickedness that he was subjected to, and she felt a deep, unconditional bond of love to the child that she alone knew did not deserve all that was done to him. But you know what? There was nothing his mother could do. She just watched in sorrow and in sadness. This was the woman I told you that was called Nisbet, the mother of David. She felt the intensity of her youngest child's pain and the rejection that came upon both of them. 28 long years, 28 long years of assault, rejection, suffering, degradation before justice will finally come and finally begin to materialize. What we read earlier about the man of God, the prophet Samuel, calling for David, it was preceded by 28 years of rejection, 28 years of suffering, 28 years of being regarded by blood of his blood, flesh of his flesh, as Mr. Nobody. I don't know how long you've been going through what you're going through, and they have told you you can never achieve anything. Hold on. They're going to find out that we serve a God that is able to take a nobody and make somebody out of him in front of everybody without any consultation with anybody. But the question is this: why was the young David so hated? Why was he so reviled by his brothers Why was he so unwanted by his people? Did you ask that question? You asked the right question. Now, to understand the hatred that was directed towards David, you and I need to investigate the reasons working behind the events that we know. And that's why I love these Jewish writings in the Midrash, because they tell you the reasons behind what you read. Now, these secret episodes are not recorded in the prophetic books, but are alluded to in the Midrash. David's father was Jesse. He was the son of Obed, all right, who was the son of Boaz and Ruth. Remember that story? So Jesse was the grandson of Boaz and Ruth. So we got David, we got Jesse, we got Obed, and then we got Boaz and Ruth. Great story. Now, after several years of marriage to his wife Nisbet, and after having raised other several virtuous children, Jesse, the father of David, began to entertain personal doubts about his ancestry. True, Jesse was the leading Torah authority of his day, but his grandmother Ruth, you remember, was a convert from the nation of Moab. At least that's what we're told in the book of Ruth. Now, during Ruth's lifetime, many individuals were doubtful about the legitimacy of her marriage to Boaz. The Torah specifically forbids an Israelite to marry a Moabite convert, because Moab was the nation that cruelly and wickedly refused the Jewish people passage through their land. They refused to give them food, they refused to give them drink, and the children of Israel just roamed around in the desert after they were freed from Egypt. Now, Boaz and the sages of those days, they understood the law. All right? The law forbids the conversion of male Moabites, because they were the ones responsible for the cruel conduct against the children of Israel. So if you are male, there's nothing you could do to convert into the Jewish religion. But the Torah exempted the female Moabite converts. Consequently, with this marriage to Ruth, Boaz hoped to clarify and to publicize this particular Torah law. But it was unknown to many people that it was permissible for an Israelite to marry a lady from Moab. So he married. But, like all people, one day, Boaz died. But as history tells us, Boaz died the night after his marriage to Ruth. But Ruth conceived amazingly and subsequently gave birth to their son, Obed. All right? Even though Boaz was gone. The father of Jesse, instead of accepting what God had done, some troublemakers at that time, they claimed that the death of Boaz was because of his marriage to Ruth, that he shouldn't have done it, that it was forbidden, and that was why God killed him the day after they married to Ruth. And it was all falsehood. But time will prove differently, though. Once Obed, so-called because he was a true lover of God and servant of God, handed over to Jesse, his offspring. They became religious people. They occupied prestigious positions, proving the legitimacy of their ancestry. So it was unquestionable that men of such caliber would have descended from a forbidden union. However, there were people who said, no, Jesse, you are from a wrong ancestry because your grandpa married from a forbidden tribe. So later in life, Jesse began to doubt. Doubt gripped him. And he was thinking, could I be illegitimate? Maybe I am. And it troubled him, and he went to the root of his existence. And being a very sincere individual, his integrity compelled him to act, even though he was acting on a thought that was wrong. Well, if Jesse was wrong, then it was questionable to remain married to his wife, who was an Israelite. Instead, if I descended from a wrong background, then I have no right to marry an Israelite. That's David's mother. So, what happened? I hope you are with me. Disregarding the personal sacrifice that it will mean, Jesse decided that the only solution would be to separate from his wife and no longer engage in any marital relationships with her. And Jesse's children also approved of his separation from his wife, who happened to be their mother. But after a number of years passed, Jesse longed for a child whose ancestry will be unquestionable. Because now, maybe all the children he has are all questionable by their ancestry. So he decided that he will engage in a relationship with his Canaanite maidservant. So at least that one can convert and he can have a legitimate child through her that nobody can question. So he said to her, to the maidservant, I want to free you conditionally. If my status as a Jew is legitimate, then you are freed as a proper Jewish convert to marry me. If, however, my status is blemished, and I have the legal status of a Moabite convert, forbidding to marry an Israelite, then I'm not giving you your freedom. But as a Canaanite maidservant, you can marry a Moabite convert. Serious thoughts. So the maidservant heard what he said, but she also knew the anguish of her mistress, Nisbet. She understood her pain in being separated from her husband for so many years. She knew as well of Nisbet's longing to have more children. So here was Jesse, wanted more children. Here was Nisbet, wanted more children. But they were so deceived in their thinking that they could not come together. So this maidservant, a great woman, secretly approached Nisbet and informed her of Jesse's plan, suggesting, now let's make a counter plan. You know what it was? Yeah, you do. She said to David's mother, let us learn from our great ancestresses and replicate their actions. Let us switch places tonight, just as Leah did with Rachel. So she advised her mistress, and with a prayer on her lips that her plan will succeed, that night, the mother of David took the place of the maidservant. That night, the mother of David conceived, Nisbet conceived, and Jesse was not aware of the switch. He actually thought he was spending the night with the maidservant, not knowing that he was spending the night with the lady that he thought he was wrong to be with. After 3 months, Nisbet's pregnancy became obvious, and everybody was incensed. Her sons actually wished to kill her, apparently, for adulterous relationship. That the baby in you is an illegitimate baby that you are carrying. We don't want to be embarrassed in our family. We don't want our dad to be embarrassed that you went out and had a relationship with a man. And so there was a vow of silence that Nisbet was subjected to. She couldn't tell anybody that it belonged to him because they were not supposed to come together anyway. Unaware of the truth behind his wife's pregnancy, Jesse ordered his sons not to touch her. He said, don't kill her. Instead, let the child that will be born be treated as a lowly and despised servant. In this way, everybody will realize that his status is questionable, and as an illegitimate child, he will not marry an Israelite. Can you imagine? David? Yeah, you're David. So from the time that David was born onwards, he was treated by his brothers as an abominable outcast. That was how they treated David. Noting the conduct of his brothers, the rest of the community assumed that this young David was a treacherous sinner, full of unspeakable guilt and horrible background. So when he will return home from where he kept the animals, they will not give him the respect that he deserved. The townspeople shunned him. It was bad. If someone lost anything or had anything stolen, David was accused as the natural culprit and ordered, in the words of that psalm, to repay what I have not stolen. That's what he said in the book of Psalms. He said, I was made to repay what I have not stolen. Psalm 69 verse 7 says, because for thy sake I have borne reproach. Shame has covered my face. I am become a stranger unto my brethren. That's Psalm 69 verse 8. And an alien unto my mother's children. Yeah, they took him as an alien. Look at verse 9. For the zeal of thy house has eaten me up, and the reproaches of them that reproach thee has fallen on me. When I wept and chastened my soul with fasting, that was also my reproach. He said, I made sackcloth also my garment, and I became a proverb to them. Verse 12, they that sit in the gate, they speak against me, and I am the song of drunkards. Wow. In other words, they will see David and just break into a song just to ridicule him for being a bastard. Then he said, draw nigh to my soul and redeem it. Deliver me from my enemies. Thou hast known my reproach and my shame, and my dishonor. My adversaries are all before thee. Reproach has broken my heart. You see the life he lived for 28 years. And I'm full of heaviness. And I looked for someone to take pity. And there was none. And for comforters. And I found none. That is verse 20 of Psalm 69. Look at verse 21. They gave me also gall for my meat. And in my thirst, they gave me vinegar to drink. He went through a very tough time. Now we're first introduced to David, when the prophet Samuel is commanded to go to Bethlehem to anoint a new king and replace the rejected King Saul. That was the first time we heard about David. Nothing was allowed to be said about him because he was deemed to be a nobody, an illegitimate child. So Saul arrived in Bethlehem, and the elders of the city came out to meet him. They were nervous about his unusual and unexpected visit, since the elderly prophet had stopped going round because he was old. So when he came, they felt, wow, there must be a grievous sin that is taking place in our city, and God has come to rebuke us. Maybe he has come to even rebuke the family of Jesse because of the shepherd boy living in their midst. That was not supposed to be born. You know how people make assumptions and presumptions. Samuel, however, told them, he said, I've come in peace. I'm here in peace. And he asked the elders and Jesse and his sons to join him at the feast. It was natural for Jesse to be invited, but when his sons were also told to be there, they worried. Oh Lord, perhaps the prophet had come to publicly expose and reveal the embarrassing and illegitimate origins of David, their brother. But unknown to them, Samuel came to anoint a new king at that feast. So everybody gathered together, and amazingly, you remember what I said, that God is able to make you somebody out of a nobody. But he does it before everybody, telling nobody. So he just told Samuel, go there and anoint a king. When I get there, I will tell you who it is, but I'm not going to tell you. Wow. He's able to make it somebody out of you, telling nobody about it beforehand. That's what God did for David. That's what God will do for you. Don't be surprised if no prophet, no seer sees what God is going to do for you and do through you. So when they came, Samuel saw Eliab, the oldest son, and he thought, surely the Lord's anointed is before him. And God said, Samuel, I don't look at outward appearance, because what is good in man's eyes may not be good in my eyes. God looks at the heart. So he's rejected. So he called his second son, he called his third son, and God said, no, 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 no. And the Bible tells us that Jesse made his 7 sons to pass before him, and God chose none of them. At last, Samuel said to Jesse, are there no lads remaining? And he answered, well, there's a small one left. He's taking care of the sheep somewhere. So Samuel said to him, bring him and have him brought. We will not sit until he comes here. So he sent for the little lad and had him brought. And the Bible tells us he was of a ruddy complexion and red hair, beautiful eyes, handsome face. And God said, rise, anoint him. He is the one. He is the one. A nobody is the one. A rejected one is the one. What? So as he came, and as Samuel laid his eyes on Jesse's eldest son, Eliab, he was certain that Eliab will be the future king of Israel. Tall, handsome, distinguished. You remember when he was ready to anoint him, God said, ooh, he's not the one. So when this boy came, Samuel did not make any assumptions of his own. But he waited to be told who was to become the next king in Israel. Are these all the lads? Samuel asked. And then Samuel prophetically chose his words carefully. And he asked if these were all Jesse's sons. Jesse would have answered affirmatively that there were no more sons, since David was not given the status of a son. Instead, Jesse answered, a small lad is left and is taking care of the sheep. David's status was small in Jesse's eyes. He was hoping that Samuel will allow David to remain where he was, outside of trouble, tending to the sheep in the faraway pastures with the lions and the bears. But Samuel ordered that David immediately be summoned to the feast. Glory to God! A messenger was dispatched to David, who, out of respect for the prophet, he went home, he washed himself, and he changed his clothes, unaccustomed to seeing David home at such a time was his mother. Because when they called him to come home, he said, come home for what? They don't invite me home. So he had to go clean up. And then he went to mommy. Said, Mommy Nisbet, they said the prophet is in town. And they said, he's calling me. And the mother said, no wonder you came in the middle of the day. We don't usually see you at this time. So after she listened to David's explanation and David's reason, the mother said, well, if that be so, I'm also going with you to the place. So David and mommy arrived. Samuel saw him, ruddy complexion, red hair, beautiful eyes, handsome looks. David's physical appearance was beautiful, and his stature suggested a warlike nature, while his eyes and general appearance indicated kindness and gentility. So at first, Samuel doubted whether David could be the one worthy of the kingship, because the position was great. And the last red-headed guy that we know of was Esau. And you know what Esau became? But God said, that David, that nobody, that unwanted chap has the greatness that will direct his aggressiveness for positive aims. So God commanded him, my anointed is the one standing before you. Get up, don't remain seated. Arise and anoint him without delay, for he is the one that I, God, I have chosen. So Samuel took the horn of oil and poured it upon David, and it bubbled as he poured it upon him. And it was then David came up with that beautiful statement in Psalm 23 in verse 5. His brothers were there. Those who made fun of him in the village were there. And you know what he said? I love this. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil. My cup runneth over. And as Samuel anointed David, the story tells us you could hear the sound of weeping from outside that great hall that they were in. And it was the voice of Nisbet, David's only supporter, who stood by him and was a source of comfort all these 28 years. Her 28 years of silence in the face of humiliation were finally coming to a close. At last, everybody will see that the lineage of her youngest son was pure, was undefiled by any blemish. Finally, the anguish and humiliation that she and her son had borne, hallelujah, will come to an end today. No wonder he said in Psalm 118 verse 22, words that were applicable to Jesus years later. The stone which the builders refused and rejected is become the headstone of the corner. This is the Lord's doing, and it is marvelous in our eyes. This is the day which the Lord has made. In Psalm 118 verse 24, we will rejoice and be glad in it. Save now, I beseech thee. Psalm 118 in verse 25, O Lord, I beseech thee, send now prosperity. And those in the hall joined David's mother, and they all burst into tears, and they burst into a chant Long live the king. Long live the king. Long live the king. The shepherd boy that was once reviled became the anointed king of Israel. Wow. You know why I told you this long story? To make a good point. And the point is simply this. God has the ability to pick up a nobody and make them to become somebody in front of everybody without consulting anybody. Do you see the story? Do you see that there is hope for you? Whatever people are saying, whatever assumptions they are making, hold on. God is going to show up one day and separate you from them and fulfill all that He has in mind concerning you in the name of Jesus. As we go off the air today, I'd like to remind you that the God that you serve and that you will keep serving is the one that has the ability to pick up a nobody and make them to become somebody in the front of everybody without consulting anybody. Can I pray for you? Father, I pray for my friends that are watching me today. I pray that that which happened to David will happen to each and every one of them. That they will find hope, they will find encouragement in these words that I've just spoken. That no matter what their situation is now, you, God, will do for them like what you did for David. And you will take them from where they are and take them to where you want to take them to, in front of everybody, friends and enemies. By the way, without consulting anybody. Thank you and bless you for the answer. We'll receive this elevation today. In Jesus' mighty name we pray. Amen and amen. Thank you so much for joining us today. We'll be back again next week. Until then, this is Bishop saying,